February 14th. Roses, chocolate, candlelight. But, just imagine this date, with mud-soaked boots, with gas masks hanging at the ready, with ration cards instead of ribbon. How do you celebrate love when the world is, on fire? During the two most devastating conflicts in human history, the First World War and the Second World War, Valentine's Day didn't disappear. It transformed, and in some ways, it became more powerful than ever. Part 1. Valentine's Day in the Trenches. February 14th, 1915, somewhere along the Western Front. The trenches were cold, wet, infested. Soldiers lived shoulder to shoulder in mud that swallowed boots whole. And yet, letters were being written. Millions of them. During World War I, more than 12 million letters a week moved between the front lines and home. That wasn't a luxury. It was survival. Because if your body was in the trench, your heart had to be somewhere else. Men carved handmade Valentine's cards from scrap paper. Some sketched roses. Some wrote poems by candlelight. Others pressed flowers they found behind the lines into envelopes. But here's the twist. Many of these cards were censored. Military officials read outgoing mail to prevent leaks. Imagine trying to confess longing, knowing someone in uniform might read every word. So soldiers developed coded romance. I miss the sunshine could mean, I miss you. The weather is rough could mean, I'm afraid. Valentine's messages became emotional encryption. Back home, women waited anxiously for those letters. Entire towns gathered around post offices on delivery days. A Valentine wasn't just romantic, it was proof of life. In Britain, manufacturers even produced special khaki Valentines, patriotic cards decorated with soldiers, flags and slogans like, "To my soldier boy." Love was wrapped in nationalism. Was it genuine affection or morale management? Part 2. Love as propaganda. By the time the Second World War erupted, governments had learned something critical. Emotion is a weapon, and Valentine's Day was ammunition. In the United States, posters encouraged soldiers to fight for the girl back home. Sweethearts became symbols of freedom. Romance became recruitment fuel. Hollywood joined in. Films like Casablanca didn't just tell love stories, they fused romance with sacrifice and patriotism. Love meant letting someone go for the greater good. Think about that. The holiday of intimacy was being reframed as a duty to nation. Candy companies adapted too. Chocolate was rationed, sugar was scarce, but small heart-shaped boxes still appeared, smaller, simpler, wrapped in patriotic colours. Was it commerce surviving war, or war reshaping commerce? In Britain, where bombings during the Blitz were relentless, couples sometimes celebrated Valentine's Day in underground shelters. Picture it. Candles flickering, dust in the air, sirens wailing overhead, and someone whispers, "Happy Valentine's Day." Romance didn't ignore the war. It defied it. Part 3. Separation, Fear and the Marriage Boom. Before deployment, train platforms became stages for hurried proposals. World War II saw a massive spike in marriages. In the United States alone, marriage rates surged in the early 1940s. Valentine's Day became a deadline. Because if you were shipping out next week, why wait? Couples married quickly, sometimes after weeks of knowing each other. Valentine's Day ceremonies were simple, urgent, sometimes held in uniforms. Was it love? Or fear of never coming back? The truth? Often both. For many women, especially those working in factories as part of the wartime workforce, Valentine's Day carried a complicated weight. Independence was growing. Traditional roles were shifting. The image of Rosie the Riveter stood alongside sweetheart imagery. Women were both romantic symbols and industrial powerhouses. How did that change relationships? Letters from the front sometimes revealed tension. Men expected life to pause while they were gone. But women were changing, earning wages, gaining confidence. Valentine's Day cards became subtle negotiations of identity. Stay safe carried more than one meaning. Now, here's the part we rarely discuss. Prisoners of war. In both world wars, POWs found ways to mark February 14th, even in captivity. In some camps, prisoners crafted elaborate Valentine's cards from scraps, cigarette foil, Red Cross packaging, even thread pulled from uniforms. Handmade masterpieces emerged from deprivation. One card might take weeks to complete. Why? Because creating beauty in a place designed to erase hope was an act of resistance. In Japanese and German POW camps during World War II, letters were often delayed or heavily censored. Some never arrived at all. Imagine celebrating Valentine's Day not knowing whether your message would ever reach its destination. And yet, they wrote anyway. Was it naive optimism, or an unbreakable human instinct? Love, stripped of luxury, becomes raw. No flowers, no restaurants, just ink and memory. Part 5. Secret loves and hidden romance. War also created forbidden love stories. In occupied Europe, relationships between local women and foreign soldiers were common and controversial. In France, after liberation, some women accused of collaborating romantically with German soldiers faced public humiliation. Heads were shaved, crowds jeered. Valentine's Day in those contexts wasn't sweet, it was dangerous. Love could brand you a traitor. Meanwhile, in the United States and Britain, interracial relationships face strict social barriers. Black American soldiers stationed abroad sometimes experienced more social freedom than at home, only to return to segregation. How did Valentine's Day feel for couples whose love wasn't legally recognized? We don't have as many preserved cards from them, but we have stories, and silence can be telling. Part 6. The business of love survives. Despite rationing, shortages and blackouts, Valentine's Day sales never vanished completely. In fact, during World War II, greeting card companies reported steady demand. Cards were smaller, paper thinner, ink limited. But the messages were grand. Because when death is a daily headline, love feels urgent. Florists struggled with supply chains disrupted by submarine warfare. Imported flowers were scarce, so local blooms became symbolic. Simple carnations, wildflowers, less spectacle, more sincerity. Or was it simply necessity romanticized? Part 7. After the war, a different kind of Valentine. When the wars ended, Valentine's Day didn't go back to normal. It exploded. After World War II, consumer culture surged. Engagement rings, elaborate chocolates, lavish dinners. The holiday became more commercialized than ever. Was that celebration or compensation? After years of rationing and restraint, people craved abundance. The baby boom followed. Suburban homes, nuclear families, a renewed emphasis on romance, but also stability. Did the trauma of war make love seem more fragile or more necessary? Perhaps both. Conclusion. Love as defiance. So how did people celebrate Valentine's Day during the World Wars? Not with extravagance, not with certainty, but with ink-stained fingers, with trembling hands, with hope folded into envelopes. They celebrated in trenches, in bomb shelters, in prison camps, on train platforms. Valentine's Day became less about luxury and more about survival, because when tomorrow isn't promised, "Be mine" means something different. Here's the question that lingers. If your world was collapsing, would you still celebrate love? Or would love become the reason you endure? On February 14th, while we scroll and swipe and send digital hearts, remember, once upon a time, that date carried the weight of war. And still, people chose love.